I'm Jesse Fuchs. Dealer's Smoke Break is a solitaire card game by Fyrix Haston, a current class of 2025 student at the NYU Game Center, a department of the Tisch School of the Arts, and a former student of my traditional card game literacy and design class there a few years ago. Many great card games have come out of that class. I'll give a link to a folder with them in the description, but Fyrix's is unique in that it's the only card solitaire I know of where you can make strategic choices while sitting on the subway or standing in line. Something I remember why I didn't show up an hour early for the Tom Verlaine estate book sale a few Saturdays ago, and ended up standing in line for 2 hours with a phone that might make it through the day if I only used it as an iPod. So I played 20 games of Dealer's Smoke Break and had a great time listening to my Luna albums and trying to keep myself under par. And when I made it to the front of the line, it was even easy to save where I was in the game and pick up where I left off when I got back on the subway. And it was all worth it, as I am now the proud steward of all of these books that were owned by Tom Verlaine. And that's something nobody can take away from me unless they steal the books. But it also made me want to show people this game, as it's a lot of fun, easy to learn, a nice break from your phone, and I would find it funny to see someone I don't know playing it the next time I get on the subway. So, as I said, it is a regular 52 card deck plus the jokers. To prepare the deck, you don't need to really do anything except pull out one of the jokers. I will have a prepared deck for instructional purposes here, and if you look in that description and you want to follow along, you can set up your deck like I have it set up here for this part. This part is just random shuffled. So, and put this stacked part on the bottom. As you'll see, the bottom is really the top. A few key things to know about this game. It's very simple, but key rule number one, suit doesn't matter, color doesn't matter, being a face card doesn't matter, only number matters, with aces counting as 1, jacks 11, queens 12, and kings 13. That's the one thing you kind of have to remember. You'll get used to it. Except for the 2 jokers, and these are wild cards, and as I said, to prepare the deck, you just take one of them out, shuffle the other joker into the deck, and then tuck this joker underneath the top card, sticking out at sort of a 45-degree angle there. You'll be pulling cards from the back of the deck to the front, so this joker will mark the end of the game, which means this top card is the only card in the game you won't actually ever encounter. So, hope it's not the other jokers. It'll be nice to have that. As I said, they're wild. So, key rule number 2, you always draw back up to 5 cards in your hand, except maybe at the end of the game when you're getting this final joker. So at the start of the game, you draw 5 cards, pulling them from the back of the deck forward. As I said, you can play this game standing in line. You know, there's a reason I did not have a table underneath me, but instead you could play it above a cat, for instance. The goal of the game is to get as low a score as possible, like golf. The best possible score, as you'll see, is -10, and par, is set at 0, but make your own goals. Decide what is winning to you. But negative is a good sign. Points are scored from discarded cards. Now, the jokers are worth -3, so they are wild cards, but if you don't use them as wild, you can discard them and, get closer to that best possible score of -10. Aces are -1 and are also useful just as ones. So, again, you'll have to make this sort of choice. Other cards are all their positive value. So usually, although not always, you're only discarding them when you have no other choice. Usually what you're doing is getting cards to the front of the deck here by making sets out of them. And there's 2 ways to make sets. As I said, suit, color, none of that matters. All that matters is number. 2 cards or more of the same number. For instance, we can make a set out of these 2 sevens. Or, and here's where it gets interesting, any 1 card plus any other cards that add up to that 1 card. Can't do anything trickier than that. You can't do 2 sets of 2 cards that add up to each other. 1 card, other cards add up to that. But as you can see here, we have several choices then. We could do the pair of sevens, but we could also do the 7 one of the 7s, doesn't matter which, with the 3 plus 4, or the 10 with the 7 plus 3. And that introduces us to the final key rule. Here's the big surprising one, and if you somehow encountered this through seeing someone else play on the subway, this might be where you noticed it, because you thought maybe they were looking at their watch. But no, you are allowed to look at whatever the next card is that's coming. Now, any set you make is going to be more than one card, so you don't know exactly what's coming, but you have some sets. In this case, it's the queen, a queen, and that does not really affect my decision here too much, so I'm just going to go with the a reasonable move. Won't argue strategy in this instructional video, it's already a little too long, but let's do the 3 plus 7 equals 10. So these cards go in front here, and I draw 3 more cards. And I'm going to keep playing on to explain some more facets, but that is pretty much it. So if you want to try playing now, you can pause this video and feel free. Otherwise, here I'll go through another 7 or 8 turns. So at this point, we have these 2 jacks. We also have a 4 and a 7 add up to a jack. But again, if we look back here, we see a 5 coming. And I remember 7 plus 5 equals 12, and the queen is a 12. So I am going to save this. And normally, maybe I'd go for the 7 plus 4 is jack, but in this case, I will do the pair of jacks, tuck that back there, pull forward this, pull forward this. Now we have one of these aces. As I said, the ace is a 1 in terms of adding up here, so very useful, for getting that last bit. In this case, we could do either 7, 5, queen, 7 plus 5 is 12, 7 plus 4 plus 1 is 12, or 4 plus 1 is 5. So ace obviously gives you a lot of options, but if you discard them, they are worth -1, and the best possible score is -10. So in this case, okay, Clancy, you can stop the video now if you're here for the cat. From now on, pure strategy. So in this case, looking back, you see a 2, you say, well, I don't need to discard the ace yet. 7 plus 5 equals 12 is going to be a pretty great move no matter what. Getting rid of the high cards is always good. So let's deal with that. And now we have a 2. And that may, in fact, be a mistake. You never quite know. This is a game with real choices. So let's say you end up here. Now you say, okay, well, 6 plus 4 plus 2 equals 12, so I can get rid of all of those. Back here I've got a 5. Well, okay, let's discard the ace, pull forward that 5, and see what's coming next. So, ace goes back there. All discarded cards just go in front of that, whether good or bad. And now I've got another queen coming, so that does tell me that instead of wanting to do these 3 cards equal that queen, let's just do these 3 cards, or these 2 cards equal to 6. Make that set, pull forward the queen, and then I'll be able to pair them off. However, this is not, along with that jack, a great looking hand. Again, I've stacked the deck, so I've introduced, I am my own vengeful god, but perhaps one of those earlier moves has set us up for having too many high cards in our hand, which are difficult to add up to each other, so you can only really pair them off sometimes. And in this case, this is fine, but knowing I have a jack coming, well, let's see if I've boxed myself into a corner. So, and you don't need to look back because it is inevitable whatever this is, but oh no, it's this other queen. No way I could have seen that coming, just bad luck. But now I look at the next card, and now I'm in some sort of a terrible sacrifice situation, right? Because the instinct would be, well, I will discard the 5 because that is the lowest of these cards. I'm trying to get as few of these positive points as possible. 5 is better than 9, 11, 12, or 13. However, I have an 8 coming. 8 plus 5 is 13. So I kind of want to keep that 5, and I can get rid of this and clear up this logjam, so it looks like, oh no, I'm going to have to discard a big fat 9 which puts me right now at 5 points, because this is, again, -3, and at the end of the game you can pull it if you want to make some final set, or you can just leave it there and take it as a discard. So that does allow me to pull this forward. I suppose I could look back. I have a 4 coming. Fantastic, I don't care. I don't want to take any more points, and I can make this. So I would do that, pull forward this 4, pull forward another 4, pull forward another king, and I got an ace coming. Well, the ace in this case is definitely not going to get discarded. I'm going to have to take the coward's path on that one. But I can discard, or not discard, make a set out of these 2 4s. Generally you want to save low cards for not using in pairs, because they're more valuable getting rid of those high cards if you can, but in this case I can't. Now I've got this king coming, and at this point I will just leave it up to the player. After this, the deck is random anyway, so you can play the rest of it out. Again, you will go through the rest of this deck, and then when you finally get to this joker, you can decide either to pull it or not. Yeah, that is the entire game. Hope you enjoy.